I find really fascinating is because you have this community. If you were to read this newspaper, you might think you stepped back in time like 100 years, maybe even more. Would that be a fair statement? If you're
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
but the thing that's unique is the owners of the paper have decided and said, how do we still remain relevant, as far as keeping our production costs in line and finding the people that we need. And so they've hired remote teams to utilize help around the world to help them to produce this newspaper. And it's fascinating to me that they would take that leap. And it's actually, really a testament to their innovation and to moving forward, even though they have a very traditional medium.
It's very, I want to say, almost necessary today to have this relationship. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without our overseas team, point blank. They produce all of our marketing materials, all of our, they set our ads for us. They do our graphic design for our advertising, and which is typically what a newspaper would focus on. But the budget is unique in that it's not only a newspaper, it's honestly an entertainment company for the Amish. So there are many other facets to the business besides just putting out a newspaper. And the remote team is a big integral part of that. They produce all of our anything graphics related. So not just the advertisements in the paper, but we go to trade shows and expos and things where we set up booths to represent the paper among the Amish community. And they produce all the graphics for all the signage and even the table coverings and all of that kind of stuff. The business cards, the pamphlets, like I said, all the marketing materials. And it's such a good turnaround of that stuff. And honestly, if we were trying to do all that stuff in-house, we would never have the time to do it because we have to go through the day-to-day process of preparing the paper from receiving the letters in the mail to getting them typed up and processed and formatted and getting the paper, put together and all of that stuff. So they're very integral to what we do here.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm just curious, like with all the challenges in the newspaper business, I know from being an employer for 30 years, what are some of the challenges you're facing with, your domestic workforce, and how are you addressing them? Because I want to understand, like, where you're coming from, like what are you dealing with on an everyday basis, because I think that would help some people to understand, or at least recognize, like, hey, I have some of the same challenges, and didn't know if you're seeing something, whether it's a lack of certain skills, or hey, the people that have these skills are kind of aging out over a period of time, or what are you seeing?
Actually, it's all of the above, Bill. Now, if I can take a step back in time just a little bit, back to my days at the Herald, we come from a small town. It is the county seat of the county, but it's still a small town. And when we were doing all of this work in-house, as the process became more and more complex to produce an advertisement, back if you look at old newspapers from the 60s and 70s, you just see, boxes with some type in it and maybe a picture or two. Nothing really fancy at all. And just about anybody could put those together. But as we have become more advanced in our graphic design efforts, and we're producing nicer looking ads, the people with those particular skill sets, now you're getting into a funnel here where you're funneling down, and you don't have as big of a workforce to pull from, especially in a small town. So, and then you've got this constant turnover of, people that come in, they learn their skill, they hone their skill, and then they usually leave to go pursue, higher income or, a different situation of some kind. And so then you're kind of starting over and you've got this churn. So, and I'll come back to that point here in a second, but fast forwarding back to the budget here, I haven't really had a lot of experience with those issues here because in the couple of years that I've been here, we've been able to retain our staff. So we haven't really had the turnover that usually we in our business have to deal with on a regular basis, which is a good thing. It's that helps keeps costs down, and your team just gets better and better and better at working together. And